If in any, surely in religious contests, the maxim should be constantly kept in mind. The end of all war is peace. He is not a good Christian who does not sigh for it in the heart of the conflict, who does not court it in the moment of victory, who does not enjoy a triumph in sounding the trumpet, which shall bid the people return from following their brethren. 2 Samuel 2, verse 26. The man who loves to live in the fire of contention, who feeds on debate and controversy, whose thoughts are never turned to peace, but are like the troubled sea when it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt, who is prepared to contest every point of common order as if it concerned the common salvation, is ever ready with his dissent, backed with its many reasons against any ordinary measure, which may not have obtained the sanction of his superior wisdom, and who flies off as soon as he finds that he cannot obtain his will in all things. This man is unfit for religious society, and though he may pretend to his zeal for God and for religion, his zeal, like his wisdom, is not from above. Christian candor is another quality which is requisite. This displays itself in an openness of mind to conviction, a readiness to hear whatever may be advanced, a disposition to give and receive explanations, and to pay all becoming deference, not only to the reasons, but also to the difficulties and scruples of brethren on the points of difference, and to relieve these so far as may be practicable, safe, and consistent with public duty. It is also opposed to concealment, dissimulation, and all the crooked arts by which the worldly politicians conduct their negotiations, and endeavor to obtain the best terms for their constituents. Far from those who engage in this holy work be all such Italian and Rome stratagems. Every one ought to speak the truth to his neighbor as he thinketh, without equivocation or mental reservation. There ought to be no masked proposals, no ambiguous declarations, no secret articles, no understood agreement among leaders, no imposition on the credulity or the confidence of the Christian people. Genuine and unaffected candor has a powerful influence in inducing persons to persevere in a treaty when there may be great difficulties in the way of bringing it to a happy termination, whereas duplicity and art excite jealousy in the breasts of the intelligent, and if successfully practiced, lay a foundation for future repentance and disquiet. The gift of knowledge and wisdom is requisite. This work requires a union of the qualities of the men of Zebulun and Naphtali, who came to David to turn the kingdom of Saul to him, according to the word of the Lord. They were not of a double heart, and they had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. 1 Chronicles 12. That dexterity and knowledge of mankind which qualifies some individuals for settling ordinary disputes about the things of this life or in the church will avail little in the work of which we speak. It requires an accurate acquaintance with the subjects of dispute in all their bearings, of the signs of the times, their duties, sins, and dangers, of the real character and disposition of the parties, and other circumstances which may go to determine the call we have to engage in such an undertaking, or to persevere in it, not to mention an acquaintance with attempts of the same kind, which have been made in former periods, with the effect which they produced, or the causes of their ill success. Lastly, a public and disinterested spirit is indispensably requisite. Those individuals whom God has raised up in different ages to do good to Zion in his good pleasure have been eminently endowed with this disposition. Such was Moses, who showed himself fit for composing the strife of his afflicted brethren, when he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, and proved himself worthy of standing in the breach to turn away God's anger from Israel, when he magnanimously declined the offer of heaven to make of him a great nation. Such also was Paul, who not only became all things to all men and a servant to all, in things lawful and indifferent, but could wish himself accursed from Christ for his brethren. There are no sacrifices which are in their power, which persons of this spirit will not be disposed to make for accomplishing so good and great a design, their worldly interests, their reputation and honor, their station in the church of God, provided it prove an obstacle. They will cheerfully relinquish and lay at the feet of their brethren. If these dispositions were more generally and more strongly displayed, there would be no ground for despairing of the abolition of many of our religious differences. Some of them, no doubt, imply a diversity of views so radical and extensive that it would be unreasonable to look for their speedy removal. But the cure of others may be said to be more within our own power. In vindication of the perspicuity of the Scriptures and of the certainty of the standard of religion, it ought to be acknowledged that we often err from the path of duty, not so much because we cannot discover it, as because we are averse to it. The light of the body is the eye. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Matthew 6, verse 22. If those who were once united had been true to their light and single in their aims, if they had lived together as became brethren, if they had been at one as to the ends of their Christian profession, and continued resolved, through grace, to prosecute them, notwithstanding of whatever trouble or persecution they might meet with in assaying the faithful discharge of their duty, fewer differences would have arisen among them, and these would have been more easily composed in the spirit of the gospel. Whereunto they had attained, they would have walked by the same rule, they would have minded the same things, and if in anything they were otherwise minded, God would have revealed even this unto them. Philippians 3, verses 15 and 16. When we are brought to a proper sense of the causes of our divisions and offenses, the cure of them will be more than half effected. In fine, I would improve this subject for warning you against a twofold extreme into which persons are apt to run with respect to the present movements towards union. Beware of indifference to the object itself, or any scriptural means for attaining it. You are under the strongest obligations not only to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, but also to be workers together with God, who has promised to bestow this blessing, if others err by allowing this object to engross their attention. This will not excuse your lukewarmness, or your refusal to do what may be in your power, in your place and station, for promoting it in any degree. Hard-hearted must he be who can look unmoved on the wounds of the church, or pass by like the priest and Levite in the parable, without feeling disposed to provide and pour in the healing oil and balm. It would be strange and unnatural indeed if any son of Zion should rejoice in her trouble, and take pleasure in her beholding perpetual strife and violence in the city of God, instead of seeing it a peaceful habitation.